Crisis Radio, so we're calling for the nationalization of BP. If you saw that languid, effete, aristocratic Hayward, you know why this cannot be the management of an industrial company operating in the United States. Notice also that Hayward comes from the derivatives department. We need to look into the role of BP and their derivatives trades in driving up the price of oil to $150 a barrel and gasoline over $5 a gallon here in the United States in that awful August and September of 2008, before the banking panic, stock market panic, hedge fund hecatomb, and related factors undercut the market, and it all went down to about $30 a barrel, not based on supply and demand, based on derivatives. And who were the main derivatives traders? Well, we've talked about it, the London ICE exchange, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, but BP, undoubtedly a big part of it. So it was true on Saturday Night Live that BP is best at ripping you off at the pump. Well, nationalize them, forbid any use of derivatives, wipe out all existing derivatives. And that also goes for Fannie and Freddie. Now, so far, the cost of bailing out Fannie and Freddie have probably been the greatest of any component of the bailout, because this is where the various mortgage-backed securities, derivatives, were concentrated. Now, I'm interested to see here in the Wall Street Journal, of all places, on Tuesday, June 15th, it's time to nationalize Fannie and Freddie. Stephen A. Blumenthal, a lawyer, former director of the Office of Federal Housing Enterprise Oversight under Mad Dog Bush, and he says, the only solution is for the government to assume the functions of these government-sponsored enterprises, returning the companies to their original status as official government agencies, because that's what they were. For the first 30 or 40 years of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they were government agencies. No speculation, no derivatives, no super profits, no golden parachutes, and astronomical, exorbitant compensation packages for oligarchs like Franklin Raines and the rest of the Clinton gang that moved over to Fannie and Freddie. So it's time to nationalize. Now, unfortunately, Blumenthal seems to think that in this process, the bondholders are going to be made whole. He says other possibilities have a chance of endangering the sacrosanct position of bondholders who are threatened by receiving less than 100 cents on the dollar. Well, sorry, boys, no 100 cents on the dollar, right? All the homeowners have been foreclosed on. We've got double-digit unemployment, almost 20%. And it's, out of all of this, the bondholders are sacrosanct. Bondholders are not sacrosanct. They will get a nice summer haircut. They will get a crew cut or a baldy, in effect. And it's going to be the nationalization of Fannie and Freddie and the systematic voiding of derivatives. That is to say, of all the asset classes that are there, you've got to triage some of them. The bondholders will take a bath, but the tremendous cancerous burden on derivatives on the U.S. economy can also be limited and reduced through proper administration. So this is where we are now. This was a companies that worked fine when they were government agencies, and then they were privatized. So they were given the opportunity to have stocks on the market. They were in there for private gain. The executives, Franklin Raines, again, exemplary, went wild, made out like bandits, walked away, and now the public is stuck with the results. And we've got these ideologues who say, well, the bondholders have to be sacrosanct. No way, Jose. That's not going to happen. A comprehensive restructuring, which will take the bondholders down to reasonable valuations, which is probably a few pennies on the dollar. So this is now the kind of policy you need to fight a depression, as well as to rein in the decades of lawlessness that have been ingrained in people like BP. BP, of course, a special case. It is one of the main features of British imperialism. This was the original Anglo-Iranian oil company founded before World War I with the goal of getting oil for the British fleet in Iran, right? British sphere, later occupied by the British during World War II, and they still deal with Iran. If you're concerned about Iran, then BP is, to a significant degree, Iranian in its origins, and they find ways to get around these sanctions and do all the rest of the stuff they want to do. So nationalize BP, nationalize Fannie and Freddie, but don't do it to preserve bankrupt derivatives. Do it to wipe them out, to cancel them, to void them, to triage them, delete, shred. That's the policy for derivatives. And if the companies go bankrupt, then the counterparties will also have to take a bath. Now, related issues on the economic front. We've now got about 1.2 million people who have been unemployed for more than 6 months. This is a growing group, and it would be bigger if some of them hadn't dropped out through despair. There is a bill in the Congress which provides about $100 billion for the following purposes: to maintain Medicaid through the states, medical treatment for the poor. We need it. We must have it. Medicare, we need to avoid the terrifying possibility that payments to doctors and hospitals under Medicare will be reduced by 21%. This is unacceptable. This is pure insanity. We need the extension of unemployment benefits for people who are long-term unemployed. Naturally, we have Sharon Angle, the reactionary imbecile, who wants these people to be low-wage coolie labor in her family's hotel chain. Well, sorry, Sharon Angle, reactionary imbecile. Americans have dignity. We have economic rights. We won them during the 1930s through centuries of labor struggles, going back into the mists of time. We're not going to have individual rights, economic rights, destroyed by a gaggle of reactionary lunatics, hypocrites that they are. Unfortunately, now, this bill was blocked in the Senate 56-40. In other words, they got 56 votes, but because of the continuous Republican filibuster of everything, that's not enough. And the traitors in this case are Lieberman, of course, and Ben Nelson, the reactionary, right? Remember him, the Cornhusker kickback. He would do all sorts of things. He's essentially like Lieberman, somebody who wants to preserve his own seat, right? He's got the Arlen Specter syndrome, and naturally it's better for these people to be out. The other thing is that originally, I'm not sure what the status of this is, but the question of teachers, I think originally this bill, and I'm not sure whether it's still in there, but let me just give the general policy orientation anyway. We needed about $23 billion to preserve 300,000 teacher jobs, and we need it. And we're going to go through the reactionary Will the Shill and how he thinks teachers should be fired and civilization destroyed to tame the deficit and balance the budget. Back in a minute.